Hey Dragonlings, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, you may not know, but my name is Sky. I typically write paranormal romance under the name SD Haggis. In today's video, I wanted to do a book recommendation. I have done these off and on over the past couple of years, and in a video I did last year, I mentioned that I wanted to do these once a month. It didn't happen because, well, we all know how 2020 went. But this year, I would like to make that a goal again. I would like to do one book recommendation a month. And because of that, you're going to see me wearing the same outfit a couple of times because I'm going to bulk film them just to get them done and out of the way so that I can edit them and upload them and they'll be there. Don't ask. I have no idea what I'm doing. For today's book recommendation, I wanted to talk about Graceling by Kristin Cashore. This is a YA fantasy, and it is the first book in the Graceling Realm series. I marathoned this series a few years ago. However, last year I discovered that they are releasing a fourth book. Back when I marathoned the series, after I finished the third book, I went hunting and discovered from the author's website itself that there were no plans for any future books at the time. The author did plainly say that she wasn't planning on writing anymore, but if she got an idea for another book, she would. And now, January 19th, Winterkeep is being released. So I am once again marathoning the series so that I can read Winterkeep when it comes out. So the first book was Graceling by Kristin Cashore. I personally love this book. Does it have problems? Yes, it does, and we're going to get into at least one of those. But let me go ahead and read the description for you first before we go any further. I am reading this off my Kindle because that's how I read books these days, is via Kindle or audiobook. This says, Graceling tells the story of the vulnerable yet strong Katsa, a smart, beautiful teenager who lives in a world where selected people are given a grace, a special talent that can be anything from dancing to swimming. Katsa's is killing. As the king's niece, she is forced to use her extreme skills as his thug. Along the way, Katsa must learn to decipher the true nature of her grace and how to put it to good use. A thrilling, action-packed fantasy adventure and steamy romance that will resonate deeply with adolescents trying to find their way in the world. Overall, that is a good description of what Graceling is. Katsa is someone whose grace is killing. She discovered when she was a child, her creepy uncle was hitting on her and making overtures at things he'd like to do to her. And she punched him, which killed him. And that's how they discovered her grace. In this world, people are... I don't like the way that was worded in that sense. It's not like people are chosen. It's random. But those who are born with a grace, eventually as their grace develops, their eyes change colors so that they have one eye of different colors. So Katsa has one green eye and one blue eye. And there's other characters that we meet throughout the book who have different colored eyes, and that's how you know that they have a grace. In this fantasy world, there are 7 kingdoms, I believe. Yes, I believe there's 7 kingdoms. And in the kingdom that Katsa lives in, people fear those with a grace. And they fear Katsa even more because she has developed a reputation as the king's thug. Everyone in the kingdom knows that when Katsa is sent after you, something bad gonna happen. 90% of the time, she's forced to kill you in public. Yay. But she could just be sent to, break an arm or a leg. But when you see her, you're fucked. And so she's got a double reputation, not just because she's got a grace that ostracizes her from her people, but because she is the king's thug and he sends her to do his dirty work. That being said, I do like the fact that the other kingdoms treat graces differently. It's interesting to see. There is someone who shows up near the beginning of the book, and she actually has a fight with him and knocks him out. Oops, sorry, Bubba. But he is from a kingdom where those with graces are honored and respected, and the only person higher than someone with a grace is the king itself. So it's really interesting to see Katsa develop her sense of self and her place in the world as she meets more people in other kingdoms and views their views of what those with grace should be treated. Does that make sense? Like, because they're treated differently in all the kingdoms, she gets to see how those people are treated, and it kind of changes how she would like to be viewed as she develops into her own person, because she's been working for the king for so long. She doesn't even know she honestly believes she's a monster, and no one's told her any differently. Basically, no one's made her feel that she's anything but a monster. And it's really interesting to see her develop into her own person throughout the story. It's also interesting to see her views on romance change. Her views at the very beginning of the story are very black and white. I will never be with a man at all because that means I have to get married. That means I have to have kids. And that view kind of changes slowly throughout the story because of things that happened. It's the steamy romance portion of it, which is not very steamy. It's not very explicit at all. There's one scene that is not explicit. My girls could read it, honestly, and they would not have any idea what's going on. Just saying. That's why I laugh at the steamy romance part. But it's really interesting to see how her views change throughout the story. Now, the bad thing. There is a problematic trope in Graceling, and that is the idea that magic cures disability. I do like the way it is handled in Graceling, but even the author admits that it is a problematic trope. There's an author's note at the end of the book, and they admit that they realize they fucked up, basically. The way it is done, the person who gets the disability, they're not born with a disability, an event happens, and they are disabled. But prior to that event, their grace is already evolving. And even after that event, I don't want to say that their grace cures them, because they are not cured. It's just that their grace allows them to live in that world easier. Does that make sense? I can't really describe what happens without spoiling the plot, because this is an event that happens closer towards the end of the book, and I don't want to spoil the book. So that's as much as I can say without spoiling it. If you've read Graceling, tell me your thoughts. Do you think the way it was done is still as bad as it could be as if their grace cured them completely? I'm curious. It is a bad trope, and again, I'm going to acknowledge that it was bad to do, and the author acknowledges that it was bad to do, but I don't really know what I want to ask about that. Are there ways it could have been done that would have made it better? That's how I'm going to ask that. Is there ways that it could have been done that could have been better? If you've read this book. If you haven't read it, I'm going to go ahead and warn you now that that's probably going to be what makes you lose some stars if you review it. That being said, I still thoroughly enjoy this book, and it is one that I will probably come back to in another 10 years and read again. Just saying. Because I do enjoy it that much. Have you read Graceling? What were your thoughts on it? What did you think of it? Let me know down in the comments below. But for today, that's all I have for you guys, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, Dragonlings. And steamy romance.